Hi everyone, I'm Rhonda Sigrist with the Stitch in Time Embroidery Designs, and today we're going to be stitching out this pumpkin spice season mug rug. The design itself is 5.9 inches tall by 8.26 inches wide, so you'll need a 6 by 10 hoop or similar. With this design, you also get the design by itself, the thing that just says pumpkin spice season. You can put it on towels or tote bags or a shirt or whatever you decide to put it on. So you'll get the mug rug, the in the hoop mug rug design, and the design by itself. So you don't have to pull it out if you want to. And of course, it comes in the 7 formats that we always include with our embroidery designs. We're going to stitch it out on a different background color. This is the one I stitched out the other day. You'll notice that the little cup even has some shading on the side with the little pumpkin and the whipped cream. It's really cute. And who doesn't love pumpkin this time of the year? So let me switch to my cutting table and I'll show you guys what you need to get started. All right, so you're going to get instructions like this. You get them with every design that we sell. So it gives you, all the machine information there, and then it gives you a supply list, which tells you everything you need. I'm using a medium weight cutaway stabilizer in this 6 by 10 hoop. You're also going to need some warm and natural batting. I like to cut it to where it actually fits inside the design or very close to it, so you don't have any to trim away at the end and it fits nice and neat. So this piece is 8.25 inches by 6 inches, and I'm using warm and natural batting here. I have one piece of fabric that I'm going to use on the front side. This piece is 10 inches by 8 inches. That's for the front of the mug rug. We're going to use this. I don't remember the name of this color, but it is a grunge fabric. It's kind of like a creamy color with some light browns smudged in there. I actually love using grunge fabric for all of my most of my designs that I do in the hoop designs, because it gives it somewhat of an interesting background without overpowering the design. So you can still see the design really, really well, but it's not just plain solid colored fabric. And then for the back side, you need two 11 by 8 inch pieces, and you're going to fold them in half, wrong sides together, and iron them. And when we're done, this is going to be the back side. They're going to overlap each other just a little bit in the back, and you'll put that folded edge in. So it'll be nice and neat. So that's really all you need. The front, the two backs, the batting, and some cutaway stabilizer, and a big enough hoop to fit this design. All right, so let's go over to the machine and we'll get started stitching that out. The first thing to stitch out is going to stitch out directly onto the stabilizer. So let's move it over here. And while I'm stitching all of this stuff, I'm going to be using a little bit darker colors on the parts that I feel like you need to see better. Like this line that I'm about to stitch, forgot to thread my machine. It's still on Halloween colors from the other day. Okay, so you don't have to use a color this dark, but I'm going to use a brown color right now because I want you to be able to see what I am stitching on this stabilizer. You can use a lighter color, doesn't really matter. So all this is going to stitch here is a placement line for the batting. I love that this design only has a few pieces. Easy and quick to cut out. I'm using a Brother Luminaire XP3 machine today in this video. And I don't know why it does that little jumpy thing there. It always has since I bought it. Okay, so we have the line there, and we're just going to place this right there inside of it. And if you want to tape it down so that it stays in place, you can do that. Let me grab some tape. I like using this. Let me see what the name of it. It's transport tape. It's actually a medical tape, but it works great for embroidery. I kind of like these little 1/2 inch wide um, rolls of it. If the needle goes through it, it doesn't bother it at all. It seems to work just great. You don't have to tape it down, but I'm working on the machine so that you guys can see it. I probably wouldn't tape that batting down if I took this off and put it on my cutting table because I wouldn't worry about it moving. Okay, so then we're going to put that background fabric, that 8 inch by 10 inch piece of background fabric. We're going to center it right over there. And again, if you want to put a little bit of tape here to make sure that it stays in place, go ahead and do that. And I am working on a machine. Normally, I would be taking this on and off and bringing it to my cutting table, but just to save a little bit of time here, I'm doing that. Okay, so this next stitch here, it's step 2. It is going to stitch a tack down over the fabric and batting to make sure it stays down. And again, I'm going to use a darker color thread here, but you don't have to. What I would suggest you use is a thread really close to the same color as the fabric. I'm just going to use a darker color here so that you guys can see it on camera. Just going to hold that all down there. Make sure everything is nice and flat. And one thing I forgot to tell you guys when I was showing you all the pieces of fabric that I use. I like to iron and starch all of my fabrics when I'm doing an in the hoop project like this. It makes it nice and flat and kind of stiff. So it works perfectly for in the hoop, when you're stitching out anything in the hoop. Always have an iron nearby and some starch. It's going to make everything just a lot better. Okay, the next step is going to stitch out some stippling all over. So it's going to, make it look like it would if it was a quilt or something. And since I don't have thread to match this exactly, and I want it to just go into the background and not really show up, this is what I'm going to use. It's sulky, invisible thread. I'm not going to change my needle or anything. I am using a 7511 needle, which honestly, that's pretty much what I always use. I can't think of anything in embroidery that I change my needle for. So this actually does pretty well on an embroidery machine. You're not going to be able to see it because it's invisible thread, but I am going to make sure it's actually through the needle back here. You need good eyesight for this. All right. So let's go ahead and stitch that quilting stitch down. That's going to take about 3 minutes. And during this video, we're, making a video here. So on the parts that take a while to stitch out, when I edit the video, I will probably speed those parts up so that you guys don't have to sit through the entire thing. When I'm doing a live class on Zoom, what we normally do during the times that things are stitching out like this, I'll show you other designs that we have. I will share tips and tricks for machine embroidery and things like that. We play games and win prizes. We always have a lot of fun in our live Zoom classes. I kind of love teaching online like that. Uh, if you have a camera and we're in a Zoom class, it's always fun for me to be able to take a peek into your sewing rooms and let you share some of the things that you feel are special about your sewing room or things that you may have stitched out. So it's always a lot of fun. I get to know some of our friends and customers, or customers become friends, I should say. So if you can ever catch us on a Zoom class, please join in. I would love to see you and meet you and chat with you guys a little while. All right, so let's let this stippling stitch out. And then this mug rug doesn't have any applique pieces on it. So it's just the design that stitches right out next. So it's going to be pretty easy to stitch out. I'm stitching at 600 stitches per minute, by the way. And I like to stitch out at a slower speed than a really fast speed. I just leave it. Jonathan and I stitch a lot of freestanding lace, so we pretty much leave our machine set on 600 stitches per minute. At that speed, my machine says this takes 48 minutes to stitch out. All right. So the next thing that's going to stitch out is step 4. And the steps I am saying, those are the color changes actually. I call them steps in our instructions. So pull this invisible thread out. Didn't that work out just great? And you can use it, on anything. If you have a fabric background with kind of a lot of print, this invisible thread is perfect to use for quilting in a situation like that. So the next step is stitching out the whipped cream. So I'm going to use, well, this, it's going to show up a little. Maybe we should use maybe a yellowy color. Can whipped cream be yellow? What do you guys think? Should I use white? Let me check and see if white will show up. Have a brand new white. Let's see. That is the same color as the fabric, so we don't want to use that. It's kind of like a pretty cream fabric. Let's see what we have. Sometimes, most of the time, I pull out all my colors before I start. But the other day when I stitched this out, I used a green fabric. So I already had the colors pulled out. Today for this class, I am switching up to a different color. So I think the white will show up okay. It's enough of a difference that hopefully it shows up okay. I really like the green background too. I cut out 3 fabric sets for this to try it in 3 different colors. I cut out this creamy color, I cut out a bright orange, and I cut out the green. And I wanted to try it with all 3 colors and see which one I like the best. Okay, so this is going to stitch the whipped cream on the top of the mug. All right, so we got the whipped cream stitched out. And actually, you can see it pretty good on here. I know it's a little harder to see on the camera, but actually not too bad. Okay, step 5 is going to stitch the mug. So we're going to use this pretty, I don't know what color brown this is, but it's really pretty. It's kind of a ginger brown. And then for the shading, we'll use this darker brown because the mug does have some shading on the sides, which gives it a nice, rounded look like a mug should have. All right, so let's get stitching the mug, and it can be any color you want. We're choosing brown just because it matches the other colors that I want to use in the design, and because it has a cute little pumpkin on the front, I just thought brown was a great color to use with it. So let's stitch that out. Okay, now we're going to add the shading on the side. Y'all didn't think Jonathan would let me get away with just a plain old mug, would you? He comes in here and inspects everything I digitize. He has declared himself the digitizing boss at a stitch in time. All right, let's get that shading on there. I'm just using a brown, just a few shades darker than the one I used for the mug, and it shows up just perfectly. Okay, now we're going to stitch a cute little pumpkin on the front of this little pumpkin spice latte. And it's got a good bit of detail in it. We actually like doing things that have a lot of detail when digitizing, just to give it the best kind of effect that we can. So instead of just doing a flat stitching for this tiny pumpkin, it actually has some rows of satin stitches overlapped against each other to give it a little bit of a pumpkin look, even in such a tiny area. Okay, the next thing that's going to stitch out is the little stem on top of the pumpkin. And we're going to do that in green. Even though they're brown when you buy them, the green is just going to show up better. Let me see. I think Mr. Jonathan probably took the green that I was using for that pumpkin stem. So let's see. This should work okay because I don't see the green that I was using before. He has a machine in his room Let me grab one that I'm really happy with, because if I'm not really happy with the green, um, I'm kind of picky about thread colors. Let's see if I can figure out what color he took away. Does that look like a color that I like? Hmm, maybe so. Let's see. Yeah, we use this one. Maybe this will show up. Okay. We have a lot of different greens because Jonathan likes digitizing freestanding lace plants and flowers. So we actually have a lot of different shades of green in here. Okay, so this little stem is only going to take a moment to stitch out. And there are 2 leaves on this design that stitch out next. You can stitch them out in the same color as the word spice. That's kind of how it was on the artwork, but I already have the green loaded and their leaves, so I'm just going to stitch them out in green. All right, we're at color number 10 now, and that is going to stitch the word spice. Of course, we want a beautiful bright orange for that. Then the word spice is going to stitch out the letters with a satin stitch, and then it's going to have like a running stitch all the way around just to give it that little extra pop. Okay, the word spice is done. And now we're going to stitch the word pumpkin and season. And I'm going to use the lighter brown that we used on the coffee mug for those words. So they'll kind of match the coffee mug. And then after those words stitch, Then we only have one step left as far as stitching goes, and that's to secure the back pieces. So we're almost done. All right, we have all of the front stitched, so all we have left to do is get the back on. So normally I would take this off of the machine and put it on the sewing tape on the cutting table where I have room to work around everything, but I'm going to show you here. It'll make it quicker. You're going to take one of those pieces of 11 by 8-inch fabrics that we um, folded in half, wrong sides together, and you're going to put the folded edge towards the middle of the hoop. If you match it up towards the bottom of the hoop here, it should, I mean, towards the bottom of the top piece right there, it should work perfectly. So we're going to put that one there. And we're going to take the other one and make sure we have the folded edge toward the middle of the hoop. And we're going to line up the raw edges with the raw edges of that top part that we just finished embroidering on. Make sure it's even and not crooked. You'll see that it overlaps a little bit. So it'll give you an area to, turn it right side out with. And to prevent the foot from getting stuck on this, just in case it does, I'm going to put a little bit of this tape on both edges where it can stitch all the way around. Foot won't get caught that way. Also, just because I want to make extra sure that nothing moves, I'll put a bit of tape at the top and the bottom also. I should buy stock in this 3M tape. I use so much of it. But the good news is this is reusable. Like I could pull this off and use it 3 or 4 more times before the stickiness goes away. So it's great. Here again, you can use the thread color that's the same as your fabric. I am going to continue to use the brown just so you guys can see it. It's going to be on the inside so it won't show up anyway. And this is going to stitch around twice so that it's nice and strong. And you see, because we've ironed and starched this fabric, how nice and flat it lays. It's going to make our final project look great also. And I like to go around twice because it makes that outside stitch just that much stronger. So if you get a little rough or crazy while you're turning it right side out, you have a nice strong stitch holding it together. Okay, so that's the last stitch. And all we have to do is finish it now. So let's switch the camera to our little cutting board that we have on my desk just for classes. And we'll take that off and bring it over here. And before I forget, I wanted to show you something that you get with all of our designs. You get a PDF instruction sheet like this, and it does have step-by-step directions with photos of each step. And I like to just put 3, maybe 4 photos on each page so they're nice and big, and you can actually see what is happening in those photos. So know that if you're buying an in the hoop design from us, that you're going to get this along with the design files. Okay, so let's remove some of this tape. See how easily it tears off? It comes off just fine. Still sticky, nice and clean. If I wanted to stick this to my tape dispenser and reuse it, I certainly can, because it comes off nice and clean. So let's take all that off. Sometimes I have this stuff stuck on the bases of my lamps or the edges of my table, wherever I'm sitting. I try to get it on the tape dispenser if it's nearby, but it's not always nearby. All right. So what we're going to do first is we're going to trim away this excess stabilizer. The batting should pretty much be in there. So let's just trim this stuff away. It's going to make the edges on the inside. Just be careful that you don't trim away any or cut through any of this stitching on the inside. I'm using Kai scissors. This is the 7-inch for left-handed people because I am a lefty. Okay, so we got all that cut away. We'll turn it over to this side and you can see my stitching really well. You can use a ruler and a rotary cutter if you want to for this part, but really don't have to. It's on the inside, so if you're not that great with scissors as far as cutting a straight line, doesn't really matter. I'm leaving a 1/4 inch or a little more all the way around. And I don't want to go too close because I don't want it to cut through that. And then I'm going to trim the corners. See? Trim them on an angle because when you flip it right side out, it's going to have less bulk by trimming it on an angle like that in the corners. So you can make your corners a little more square. That way, instead of them being rounded. All right. All we have to do is flip this right side out and iron it. I'm going to use this RNK turning tool. This was a gift, but you can find it in a lot of sewing stores. It has a round ball on the tip, so it's not so, it won't poke through the stitching or anything. And we're going to grab the far side and push that through. Stick your finger in the far side, push that through. Same with the other side. Go straight to the farthest corner and bring that through. Easier to do it that way. All right, so these are really easy to turn. And what you want this turning tool for is to poke out these corners to get them as squared off as you can, like so. Clover has a plastic tool that you can do that with also. And you want to, work the edges out a little bit. And let me see if I can get my iron right here. I think I can. It is plugged in nearby. I think I can fit it right here. This is a little turntable that I bought at an expo last year, and I love it. I keep it on my big cutting table because it came with this wool pad and a protector, because this is like a countertop thing on a spinning thing here, and it actually came also with a little cutting mat that fits on there. So I can switch it from an ironing table, an ironing area, to a cutting mat. And it's so thick, I know it's not going to bother my cutting mat, my big cutting mat. Okay, so just iron everything nice and flat. And we can, get these edges out a little bit. Iron that nice and flat. If you have a nice big iron, that's great too. I have so many mug rugs. They're actually one of my favorite things to design is mug rugs. I am a mug collector. I have so many bins, probably about 8 or 10 bins now, full of unusual mugs. Anytime I'm out shopping and I see an unusual mug, I want to grab it and pick it up because I want to come home and design a mug rug to go with it. So I have quite the collection. Okay, kind of like it on this. You can see the whipped cream there. If you want to close up the back, because it is kind of open there, you can hand stitch it, but you can also just use a bit of this fusible tape, which tears easily. This is Heat and Bond fusible tape. It comes in 1 inch and ½ inch and just a few different widths like that. I just grab this one and you can just tuck it in there and then iron it. So how easy is that to close up the back like that? Just seal that down and now it is done. Okay, so let me get this iron out of the way. It's hot. Um, and so here we go. It's all done. What do you guys think? I hope you like it. This is it in green that I stitched out the other day. You'll see the green one in the PDF instructions. This is of course, what we just stitched out. Which color do you like the best? I can't decide because I thought this would be too plain with this light color, but I actually like it. And they both stitched out perfectly. You can find the cutest mugs. This one came from Amazon. It actually says Hello Fall on one side. So I actually picked this thread so that it would match this mug and I could have it out. I just love matching mugs. Don't you guys like it? Oh, wait a second. I don't even know if I got it off Amazon. Maybe I did. Look at that. $3. It doesn't say Dollar General on it, which sometimes I find mugs at Dollar General. I may have gotten this there because I recognize that yellow price tag there. So what do you think? Think that's where this came from? It may be. I pick them up all over the place. All right. So I hope you enjoyed stitching out the pumpkin spice season mug rug with me. And remember, you'll also get a file with just the design so you can put it on towels or maybe an apron or a tote bag, t-shirt, whatever you want to stitch it on, some linen, napkins. Uh, anything. And it would be so cute and perfect for the season. Have a great day and happy stitching. Bye for now. We'll do more classes like this. So if you want to, in the comments below, let us know what you would like to see us do a video tutorial on. Have a great day.